3. I hope you're safe and well. And I really hope you enjoyed yesterday's maths lesson on Roman numerals. And just to remind you, these lessons are for Miss Raza's group, that is your Jade, Indigo, and your Amber group. Okay. And today we'll be getting back to our lessons on time. I know Mrs. Raza did lots and lots of lessons with you on time. So for today in your maths lesson, what you will be doing is to read the time from an analog clock. So there are a couple of words that you must have come across when you were doing your maths lesson on time with Miss Raza. You did the word hour, you did minutes. You must have done digital, I'm not sure, but even if you haven't, we'll do it today. And you must have heard of the word o'clock over here. And I will be telling you what an analog clock is today. Okay, so just a little recap. So hours and minutes, like I said, when we talk about the hour, we talk about the small hand on the clock being the hour clock. Okay, so it is the shortest hand on the hour clock. And then you've got your minute hand, which is the longer line on the clock. Sometimes you have another line which is slightly longer than your minute hand, which is called the seconds hand or the second hand, that moves really, really quickly. But let's skip the second hand and let's just focus on the hour hand and your minute hand. Okay, so when we talk about the minute hand and when it points to this 12, like over here, it always shows a full hour. Remember, the hour hand is the smallest or the shortest hand on your clock. Over here, it shows that the hour hand is on the 8. So every time and any time that your minute hand is on the 12, you will say, or we call this time as o'clock. So we talk about the hour first and then we say o'clock. So because the hour hand is pointing on the 8, it is 8 o'clock. Okay, we'll do a couple of more examples. Like I said, every time your minute hand is on the 12, it completes a whole hour, and your hour hand over here is on the 5, which is why it is a 5 o'clock. Another one, 2 o'clock. Okay, now all of these numbers on the outer bit is your hours, or it's your 12-hour clock. There is something called a 24-hour clock, which we'll be doing in either your Thursday or Friday lesson. So when we look at your hours, like over here, your shorthand is your hour hand. And like I said, every time your minute hand is on the 12, it is 2 o'clock. Okay? So now analog, like I said, today we're going to discuss analog clock. Okay? Now, an analog clock has either 2 or 3 hands. So the two main hands are your hour hand, which is your shortest hand, and your minute hand, which is your long hand. But sometimes there's always a third hand, which is called your second hand, which is longer than your minute hand. Okay, and it usually moves around in a clockwise position. So it goes, your hour or your time goes all the way from 1, 2, 3, and that's how we move along through the day. Okay, now the face of the clock is always flat. Okay, we have numbers over here. It says we have numbers around the edge to make it easier for us to tell the time. Okay, so it shows 12 hours of the day, and for a whole day, we needed to pass it through all the hours on the clock to make it a whole day. Okay, so it has to go around once, and it has to go around twice. So when it goes around twice, it will make a whole day. Okay? So this is your analog clock, a simple clock with your hours on it, and you've got two hands, your hour hand and your minute hand. I know we're only doing analog clock for today, but let me also tell you what a digital clock is. So it looks something like this, where you've got only numbers on there. And that's why we call it a digital clock, because it doesn't have any hands on it. It just tells you the time straight away with numbers. Okay? So sometimes you can have this as a 24-hour digital clock or a 12-hour digital clock. Okay? And it's always smaller than your round analog clocks. Okay? So we're not going to do digital clocks. This is just to give you a gist. Sometimes if you have a look in your house, you will have this kind of a clock or a digital clock as an alarm that goes off into your houses, or on the radio. If you have a look, you have numbers like this. Okay, right, moving on to our analog clock. Like I said, the shorthand is the hour hand, and your long hand is your minute hand, and every time it points on the 12, we say o'clock. So the hour hand is 9, which is why this clock represents 9 o'clock. The next one, 2 o'clock. And I think I've got another one here, 7 o'clock. Okay, now it gets slightly trickier because we need to know what other times we have on our clock apart from o'clock, or what if the minute hand is not on the 12 and it's somewhere on the 3 or on the 6 or on the 9. That is when we say that it is not o'clock, but we can describe it as when the long hand is on the 3, we say it is quarter past an hour, or quarter past over here, it is quarter past 2. If you have a look at this whole circle, let's imagine that this is a pizza and it's divided in 4 quarters. So 1 quarter, and that's why we say quarter past. If this minute hand lands on the 6, it is half past. So if this minute hand was on the 6, it would have been half past 2. But if this minute hand was on the 9, it would be quarter to 2. Okay, so quarter past is on the 3, half past on the 6, and quarter to on the 9. And the time over here shows quarter past 2. I think I've got another example of quarter past. The hour hand, or the small hand, is on the 12, so we know that it is quarter past 12. Another one. Now, the minute hand is on the 6. That means we know that it is half past. But what's the time? The hour hand is on the 10, so we know that it is half past 10. Over here, half past 10. Let's see if we've got another one. Again, the minute hand is on the 6, so we know that it is half past. Half past 5, because the hour hand is pointing on the 5, so we know it is half past 5. And to explain quarter to, our minute hand has to be on the 9. So when the minute hand is on the 9, it is always quarter to. And our hour hand is on the 2, so it is quarter to 2. Another example, minute hand on the 9, hour hand on the 5, so quarter to 6. Okay, now I've got a little task for you. So if you've got your paper and your pen ready, what I would like you to do is, since we have done the analog clock and we've done quarter past, half past, o'clock, and quarter to, what I would like you to do is write the answers to all of these analog clocks given over here. The first one is done for you. The first one is where your minute hand is on the 3, so we know it is quarter past. So your hour hand is on the 2, which means this time represented here is quarter past 2. Okay, so quarter past 2. In the same way, I would like you to complete all the rest of the clocks over here. So you can either write half past, quarter to, or o'clock. Okay, right. And once you finish your work, I'm sure you know that you have to pause it when you do any work on your piece of paper. So you can carry on and pause the video, finish the answers, and always make sure that you send in or you email your work to year3@grange.harrow.sch.uk. Until tomorrow's maths lesson, take care, be safe, stay healthy. Bye.